we are glad you're here tonight. In fact, the whole purpose for tonight is to help you feel more comfortable, because the kids are already comfortable. They know the technology, they're familiar with it, and for many of them, when we say, "Can you show me how you get into Schoology and what you do?" "Oh, Mom!" Like it would be a bother because they already know how to do it. So there's much that we have to learn from them, and tonight they're going to be our guides as you go through the evening, they're going to be modeling and showing you things on their laptop. So the whole purpose is to become familiar with some of the applications and management systems that we use here in our school. They're not required systems, so not all teachers will necessarily be using them. They're kind of failing forward this year, learning and experimenting with all of these. And you're also going to learn about some of the digital tools that we will use in the classroom. So that's the goal. And I would like to start by having Mr. Olin just share a little bit about the technology vision.
Thank you, Dr. Buckshaw, and thank you all for joining us tonight. It's an exciting time to be a Spartan, and I cannot thank Dr. Buckshaw and her administrative team, as well as the teachers and the students. It has been an incredibly impressive implementation. We were a little anxious, never having done this throughout GatesChiliDi, but we have been very, very happy with the growth that we've seen from our teachers, as well as our students, and in some cases, our students teaching our teachers how to do different things and tips and tricks. And so you're going to see a little bit of that tonight from your students. The technology vision is something that came from technology committee a couple years ago, and we have developed a digital conversion team. So we have a district level team that really takes a look and dives deep into all things relative to providing students with devices. And then we have building level teams who kind of target some of those overarching goals that are happening throughout the district, and more specifically into the building. So in addition to the administrative team here, the building conversion team has done a lot of great work thinking about all of the logistical things, as well as the instructional tools that can be utilized in the classroom, some of which you're going to hear about tonight. But our technology vision is really shifting the thought of a traditional classroom where you have the teacher up in front really managing the entire lesson and sharing all of the information to our students. We are shifting that thought and have been over the last several years to a more student-centered approach. So the students are the ones that are working hard in the classroom, not the teachers, to continue the learning throughout the year. So it's self-directed. A lot of the Schoology is a learning management system that you're going to hear about tonight, and I'm sure already heard about, allows for real individualized instruction and personalized instruction. And Dr. Buckshaw could be learning in a much different way than myself, and we would not know that sitting in the same classroom, but ultimately learning the same skills and heading in the same direction relative to the Common Core, as well as those standards that we teach to every single day in the classroom. So that's a little bit about some of the basic higher level type things. It's really about some of the work that we've done leading up to this and talking with higher education, talking about two-year colleges, talking to our four-year college area colleges, as well as industry, and hearing what are the things that we want to prepare our students for as they graduate from the middle school and move up into the high school and ultimately graduate from the high school. So what are those skills that we really, really want to hone in on? And there are a lot of the skills like collaboration, critical thinking, being able to be an effective communicator. So the things that we're seeing happening in the classroom are all reinforcing those skills that are going to help prepare them for the next phase of their life, whether it be going into 7th grade next year, 8th grade, or moving up into the high school. So a lot of very, very exciting things. As I said, it's an exciting time to be a Spartan, and I think Dr. Buckshaw is going to show you a few snapshots of some of the great things that have already happened in such short time.
A lot of things have happened. When we first went on this journey to be one-to-one and have our students take the laptops home, we didn't know what to expect. We knew that schools have done it, but we didn't know what that would look like for us. Some of us who didn't even have email when they were in college or internet, it's hard to imagine the world being as different as it is now, but it is. And so in just a short period of time, You can walk down the halls of the middle school and see a difference. For those of you who visited lunch in the cafeteria, you can hear a difference because our students are engaged, actually sometimes together, working through something on their laptop. And what we've seen more of, and you might actually think the opposite, is collaboration. But the collaboration may not always look like it's face-to-face sitting around a table. It's in other ways. And so these are just some pictures that were taken. The one in the top right-hand corner is the place where our high honor roll students get to go during lunch to really kind of to chill, be on their laptops, be in a relaxing location, and you can see them all. That was one picture one day, and they're all sitting in the beanbags on their laptops, talking, joking, doing whatever, and that many of them are collaborating with each other. Somebody might still be in the cafeteria, and they're collaborating. So they're working on different projects. We also have situations where our students here are hovered around a computer trying to figure out or solve a problem. We've had students who go home at night and are wondering about something. They're submitting assignments online to their teacher. They're emailing their teacher through Schoology and trying to get answers immediately. One assignment was through Flipgrid, where students had to take a part of social studies and actually teach somebody, could be their parent, could be their dog, could be a pen, could be the table, teach them an aspect of social studies. Well, the teacher didn't know how it was going to go, had no idea, but what happened was she decided to peek at the results on Sunday. And she peeked and she looked and she goes, oh my gosh, they're posting, they're actually doing this, they're loving it. And then she could tell by all the views, basically Flipgrid is creating a short little video, she could see that students were playing other people's little videos, knowing, she goes, isn't this great? And they're having fun and they're learning and they're teaching. And they wanted to keep doing that. We have in our science classes, we have them programming in robotics. They're programming robots using the laptop. So we have many different things that have happened that continue to happen. They'll navigate through an online notebook in OneNote, and they'll navigate, and they'll be able to get to all their assignments like this. So the things that have been happening, the collaboration that has occurred, they've been given a task, and sometimes they'll say, okay, they're like, well, how do you want this? What do you want me? Well, you can submit it any way you want. If you want to do it as a drawing, if you want to do it as a video, if you want to do it as this, and they have, what we've been able to do is really meet student learning needs. And they get immediate feedback. We've had some students here collaborate with high schoolers just because they can do that now through their laptops. So it has really opened up, and I can tell you, we have so much more to go, like so much more, but what we have done in that short period of time is really opened the world to our students, because it was already opened in other aspects of their life beyond the walls of a classroom. So tonight you're going to see a little bit more of that. So thank you, and we'll see you throughout the evening.
These are also available on the desktop, so you're probably used to, if you have a home computer, you go down to the Windows Start button, or you click on the icon to open Word, Excel, PowerPoint. So for Office 365, these are available online to students. One of the benefits being that at any point, if they're at, let's say their laptop breaks, they have to get a loaner device, they can still access all of their files, even though it's not their original assigned device. Or if you're at home, they left their computer at school, or the charger at school, which probably never happens, and it dies, and they have to use your home desktop, they can still log in through the internet, access all of their homework, access their files, access Word, PowerPoint, all of those features. If you haven't already bookmarked it to the top, Ethan's going to show it to you, so you can just click a button and it takes you right there.
You can bookmark it here, and then click done, and then you could close it, and it brings you right there.
Yep. So if you look at your student's bookmark bar right up here underneath the address bar, they probably have a few things already bookmarked because their teachers probably had them do important websites that they're visiting very often. So now we have Microsoft Office right here and just click on it and it will open and they can get to their files. So on the home screen, Adriana, you want to tell them what's on their home screen?
They have the mail, the OneDrive, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, the SharePoint, Sway, and Flow.
So many of these probably look familiar, like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, because you might have used them at home or at work. Some things that are only available online is something like Sway, which is a presentation tool. It's not available on the desktop computer. Now we're going to talk about, and some people may have already done this, about how to sync your OneDrive so that you can easily access your files from your student's actual device. And we do this because why? Who remembers why? Ethan.
So you don't have to always go online to save stuff into your OneDrive or to open stuff from your OneDrive?
Yep, so since our students keep these devices and most of them travel from school to home, you can continue working on papers that you've saved in the cloud storage, in the web-based storage, right on your desktop. And this is nice because if you don't have Wi-Fi at home, or if my students use the example of, what if you're traveling in the car to go to grandma's house and you want to work on something, you don't have Wi-Fi in the car. You can continue working on something, save it in your folder, in your OneDrive folder, and when you get to school or you connect back to the Wi-Fi, it's going to sync to your cloud and you'll still have it in your cloud-based storage online. So they want to show you how to do that.
So you want to look on your desktop if you don't have these little white clouds down here, or you have blue. Like if you have the blue ones, you don't need to follow along with this step, but if you have the white ones, you can follow along so they're saved.
So if you look in the bottom corner by the time, if you have blue clouds, which you do, I know. If you don't have blue clouds, then you're going to want to follow these steps.
If you don't have any clouds, click on the little arrow icon and then you should see 2 white clouds or 2 blue clouds.
He's already done it. So now it's showing us the files that Alexa had online. She had already saved these in her cloud and saying, hey, do you want these on the computer? And Adriana's going to click next. So now all the folders that Alexa had saved online are now on the computer. So she can always access her files from this particular device, her assigned laptop.
And that green check mark shows that they're currently synced. If it's a red X, it means they're unsynced. Or if it doesn't show anything, it means they're unsynced.
You want to show them your OneNote? So Alexa's going to pull up one other feature that some of the teachers may be using. It's called OneNote. It's a digital notebook that's available through Microsoft Office.
There's the collaboration space, which students can work together on different things together while not being at the same one. Like this, we all recorded something while on different laptops, but still doing it all together. And then you have your content library. This just shows everything that I think the teacher does on their laptop or PC. And then you have your own, and it just has all the work that you should be doing by yourself.
So this is one tool that a teacher might be using that is available through Microsoft Office 365. And as Alexa said, there's a spot for students to work together, even if they're not sitting at the same table. There's a spot where the teacher can take notes, and then students can access all of their notes at any point. And then there's a spot where they can do their own individual work, and the teacher can grade it from there. The teacher can write comments, give feedback, all of those types of things.
If you're, older than 20 and you're in this room, is we're used to summative assessment. Can you pull that up for me a little bit? So summative assessment is when we were always tested at the end of a unit. So we would be given an exam, or we'd have to present something, or do a group project, or have some kind of a product so that we could show our teacher at the end of a 3 or 4 week unit what we learned. Well, things are changing a little bit with that. So Antonio, good job. So right now we're moving into formative assessment, where we're spending a lot more time during the day checking kids' understanding throughout the unit, instead of just assuming you're going to get that 60 or that 90 at the end. So what that looks like is, we're checking in frequently to evaluate their progress, and we're getting a lot of feedback from them. It could look like learning logs, discussions, kids reflecting, and teachers paying attention to that. So now that we've moved into technology, we're able to do it in much more creative ways. So Antonio, next slide for me. If you guys want to, feel free to log on to the GatesChiliDigitalResourcesNight website, as we're doing right now. And we're going to take you to a couple of sites where you can play with some of the formative assessments that some of us are using in the building to check kids' understanding throughout a period, throughout the course of a couple of days. So you're going to go down here under, on this side on the left-hand side, and you're going to go into teacher sites. You don't have to. You can simply look from here and watch what we're doing on the board, or if you feel like playing, some of these things are a little fun. You're going to write in or type in right here where Antonio is showing us the word Munski, M-U-N-S-K-I. I do not have a teacher website, but Mr. Munski was nice enough to let me connect to his, so we're just going to hit that search button. And we're going to click right into his website. And there are 4 places where I've attached learning assessment tools that I use with my students. So if you want to click on the third website, feel free. So this would be an example if I were a science teacher and I wanted to teach the ocean layers, the diagram of the ocean. So let's say that we've been studying that for a couple of days, but I'm not ready to test you yet because I'm not sure if you know, but I want to assess what your learning is. So Antonio, so guys, you can go, everybody, go ahead, oh no, go down a little bit or bring that up. So what you see here are the layers of the ocean. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 of them there. And if you go down some more, you'll see the definition and what that means of those 5 or 6 layers. So you can study that for a couple of minutes, even though maybe we've gone over it in class. And once you're ready, you go up to the top there again, and you're going to go right here to match. And so you're going to hit Start Game. And so what'll happen is you'll have your 5 zones at the top, and then you'll have the breaks in the actual graph. So if I think the epilegic zone, don't teach science, it might be here. I got it right, because it matched and it went away. So if you want to play with that for a second, feel free. We could try another one. Go and hit one, Antonio, and then we'll try the next layer. So that one's wrong because the match did not disappear. So what's nice about this is I can walk around the room and I can say, oh, you know, Antonio, you slam dunked it. You got them all right. I can walk over to another table and find that maybe one of my kiddos doesn't really know a couple of them, so we've got to back up a little bit, and we've got to review this a little bit more before we test. So it gives me an indication of where my students are, but even better is what happens is the kids now get to know where they're at. So when Paul does this, he says, oh, you know what? I know 3 of those, but I don't know the other 2. So when Mrs. Antonio tests me next week, I know right now what I don't know. So they leave fully understanding what they have not gotten yet. And I have a pretty good understanding as well. So let's go down to Flipgrid. So Flipgrid is another place. Teachers are really having a lot of fun with this right now. This is a place where I teach something to my students, and they can get on a video. So Paul, why don't you go ahead like you did last time and tell everybody because you did a nice job with that. Tell everybody what we did in class.
Well, when we go on to Flipgrid, what you have to do is you go to, you type in a code that the teacher has put forth to the students, and she's told the students already. And when you get that code and you put it in, it shows a page where you can make a video of something that the teacher has already taught you, and she's telling you to make the video. And when you make the video, she kind of grades you on what you did and how you made the video and what you said. So when you do it, you make a paragraph almost, and you go off of that to see so that the teacher knows that you get what she's teaching you.
So Paul did a really great Flipgrid, except we can't find it anymore. It's kind of gone away. So I wanted to show, it was a while ago. We did it 2 months ago. So what this group did, a little different from Paul, is they read a piece on author style and why an author writes the way they do. And then I asked them at the end of reading that article, could they get onto Flipgrid.com, because I wanted to assess their learning. And let's face it, who wants to do another worksheet where you fill in another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions, you know? Let's do something a little more creative. Let's involve the technology. So what I did is ask them to do a 90-second video explaining to me everything they learned. And so if you want to hit that, we'll listen to what they had to say.
Every author has a style or the way they like to write. First, some authors write their past experiences that
Of course,
their
don't
life,
mind Miss Emily
such as
with the
childhood
faces. This
family,
was the first time we did
family,
Flipgrid and they were having some fun, so. It's okay. You got to appreciate the middle school, you know, personality.
Finally, they use complex and simple words to make the book more knowledgeable. In conclusion, every author has a different style and makes the book unique.
But basically, so I can go home at night, I can go back to my Flipgrid account, and I can listen to what they learned. You know, did they get it? Did they not get it? Do I need to come back in and do something with that article again that they missed? So that's another really great way to assess kids during learning. So again, as adults, we're used to being assessed at the end of a unit. You know, we study, and we learn, and then we take that big test, and we either get that 70 or that 90. But now we're looking at a little bit every day at, let's take a look, what do I know? So again, the kids are leaving understanding what they might be missing, and the teacher understands who's getting it and who's not, and then can go home that night and adjust their instruction to change it for the next day so that we get everybody covered. So it's another really nice way. So in learningapps.org, if I was a science teacher, oh, okay. He's better at it than I am. So this would be the body part of an insect, if it will come up for us in the next minute or two. And so there's little pieces on there, and you can hit the pin, and then 3 answers will come up, and you get to choose whether, you know, that part on the insect, which one of those 3 answers you want. And then again, you can check your learning with a little button, and you can see whether you have the parts of the insect right or not. So as the teacher, I'm walking around, and I'm looking at whether, you know, Johnny has it right or wrong, and I also know whether tomorrow I need to teach that lesson again, because maybe people aren't getting it. But the best thing is, when the child is done, he or she knows what they've gotten wrong and how much. Did I just get one wrong? Did I get a whole bunch wrong? So they leave pretty much knowing whether they've gotten that lesson or not, and they've reached the objectives for that lesson. So Antonio, why don't you hit one of those pins for us? So if I was a science teacher and I was teaching the body parts of the insect, and I wanted to see if my kids got that, there are 4 answers here. Obviously, that's the antenna, so I'm going to get that right. Let's hit another piece. So Antonio, why don't you hit the wrong answer? I think that's the stinger, but why don't you hit something else? Did you do that? Okay. So go ahead and hit another one for us. So if it was opening on your computer, which it did last session, you could play with that a little bit. Yeah, hit the head on that one. See what happens. Okay. Yep. Okay. So just for the heck of it, go ahead down to the bottom and hit that blue button. So what happens is anything in green, Antonio knows that he's gotten right, and anything in red is incorrect. So he can go back and try it again. And of course, it's easy for me to walk around and see where the red is and where the green is. And it's nice because instead of doing it on paper and with pen and paper, instead of it taking 10 or 15 minutes, it might take 5. And we've assessed so much more quickly in a short period of time, and we can move on. So yeah, it's kind of fun. Did anyone get into that one to be able to play with it? I see a few people are there. The other one that was on there was the plot graph. Yeah, that one, maybe you can open that one up. And yeah, so there we go. So my students read a story, and after we were done learning plot graphing, I asked them to take the parts of the story and place them under the right categories. So Antonio's putting them where he thinks they go. He doesn't know because he hasn't read the story that I know of, but he's just going to put them anywhere for us and figuring out whether they go in the exposition, the rising action, the climax, or the rising action. And then when he's done and he thinks he has it right, he's going to hit that blue button. And Oh, that's it. You're done. Go ahead. Yeah. Oh, see. Yeah, he really doesn't know this story. So, yeah. You don't want that much red on the board. I can tell you that. That's for sure. But anyway, he is not my student and didn't read this story with me. So he's just helping me out. So anyway, yeah. So do you guys have any questions about formative assessment? Just an easy way for us to check understanding very quickly and for students to be able to know what they know before they leave in a classroom. So we're using a lot of technology to try to do that, and it's been kind of cool and very creative and very fun.
I want to make sure that your child logs on to Schoology, both on the computer as well as if you have a smartphone or any other mobile device. The easiest way to log on to Schoology is to go right to the GatesChiliDigitalResourcesNight website, and from there, if you go to the Students tab and scroll almost all the way down to the bottom, you'll see the Schoology link. Please do not go to Schoology.com. It won't allow you to log in right away. So the easiest way, once again, is to go right to the GatesChiliDigitalResourcesNight website. From there, each of your children have their own username and password. So I'm going to have my tech helper log in. The teacher interface is a little bit different than the students, and that's why I'm not bringing mine up and Mr. Harris's as well. So this is something that you can also put on your phone, and we'll have you do that in a couple of minutes. But go ahead and click Login. And so if you think Facebook for a minute, when a student logs in, or if you as their parent log in as well, you might see some updates from different teachers. And I see a couple important updates right off the bat. Think again like what you would post or see on Facebook. Students have an opportunity to reply. They can like the comment. But basically, these comments go to the entire class. There is a way also that students and teachers can communicate back and forth individually, which I'll bring up in a few minutes. But over up here in the right-hand corner, similar to how an email would work, if a student or if a teacher sends the child an individual message, hey, Jeremiah over here, nice job on your test, or hey, Jeremiah, you owe me a couple of homework assignments, this is another way that we have an opportunity to communicate with students. What I want to make sure that by the end of tonight, which I know is a limited amount of time, but I want to make sure you have a chance to look at, is just like a student's schedule. If you click courses, and each student is a little bit different, I want you to take a look at what teachers are using Schoology right now and focus on that. So if you can do me a quick favor and just pick one of your teachers that you know is on Schoology. Perfect. So in the materials section, you can sort of see that it's very similar to a teacher web page. And again, all teachers are using it in a variety of ways. Mr. Harris?
Teachers can do a lot of different things with Schoology. Teachers can post materials, they can post notifications, homeworks. In my science class, I have some simulations that students run through. In addition, teachers can assign quizzes that students can take online. So it really is almost like we took their binder and then just put it on a website. It's that whole digital movement that we've seen happen across so many schools. We're able to have organization right on the web page. Teachers can see exactly what students see, and there's no lost communication between the teacher and the student.
From my perspective, and again, every teacher is a little bit different, I've tried to communicate with the students this year on, hey, here's your homework assignment tonight, or next Tuesday will be a Unit 2 test. So depending on the teacher, you may see different communication, but you'll also see different folders that are set up. And again, in a minute, I want to make sure that you're able to log on. But just for example, click on your Resources tab. Okay? So different teachers will store maybe videos in there. Sometimes there's mini quizzes. I like to load up my notes. So the best way to get you more comfortable with this, if you haven't already, students, go ahead and get mom and dad logged in on the computer. Mr. Harris, myself, and we have some tech helpers that'll be around. As you're able to log into Schoology, just a couple more notes about it. Being my first year on Schoology, really I took most of my summer and loaded my notes on there. I tried to load up some review packets, some videos through Khan Academy, but Jeremiah, who is one of the students in my class, you'll see that when he logs in, he basically has a message from me every single day, whether he likes it or not. And that message is, have a nice Thanksgiving one time, or you have a Unit 3 test coming up. So one of the things now that we're 2 or 3 months into Schoology that I've encouraged students to do is I told them, hey, listen, you're more than welcome to comment. Hey, Mr. Gillette, I know that there's a test tomorrow. How many multiple choice questions? So even though that's something that I may have said in class, it's something that if this student asks it to me, you can see nobody did, then probably there's 15 other students that have the same exact question. So I'm encouraging students now to like some of my posts through candy. No, I'm encouraging them to comment, but I want it to be more of, hey, it's not just me passing out information. I want them to communicate back and forth with me. I mentioned this in my other workshops. I'm not going to take my phone number and pass it out to students. And I'm sure that as parents, you wouldn't want that to communicate back and forth with a teacher and a student through their phone. But Schoology is a safe way to communicate back and forth. I really feel that way. And so more and more, now that I'm in my 3rd or 4th month of using Schoology, I'm starting to send messages to students, right? Jeremiah, good job on your test or quiz. Or Jeremiah, you owe me 2 or 3 assignments. So little things here and there without trying to overload them. One of the questions that I got in another of these workshops is there's a lot of communication going on. There's School Tool, there's email, there's Schoology, right? And so I think it's important to know what your child's teacher is using, and that's part of why we brought you here tonight. And I think that that's a very important step moving forward. Questions that we can answer at all? Yes, you can go right to Dr. No. Yeah. Students will know if they have a message. Like right now, Jeremiah doesn't have a message. If it'll pop right up here in red, and it'll say just very similar to email. If he has 5 new messages, there'll be a number 5, and it'll be written in red, and you can't miss it, right, Jeremiah? That you can click on that. So some teachers, I don't know, Mr. Harris, if you're using this or not, have even assigned things through Schoology.
Sure. Once in a while, you can assign different things for students to complete, and it will actually have a little completion grade for it. So I get notified, hey, a student completed this folder or did not complete this folder, then I would be able to check up on that student. You know, why didn't you complete this folder? Did you run out of time? Or anything along those lines. The good thing with Schoology is it's instant feedback. So sometimes I can assign things within the first 10 minutes of class. I can see how students did, and then right during that same class, I can go and help monitor, adjust, help those students with what they might need or what they might have missed. I use Schoology probably in my classroom at least a little bit every single day. Some days a little bit more than others, but I also know that there's teachers on my team who do not use Schoology. So it really does depend on the teachers, which is why we're trying to really reinforce that conversation that you should have with your child. What teachers are using Schoology? Did you have any updates to Schoology today? Did Mr. Gillette assign homework through Schoology today? To really have that conversation almost every night to really reinforce, and hopefully it makes it a little bit less daunting of all the things that your child is doing in school.
2 more quick things. All of these, Microsoft Office 365, the formative assessment tools, and Schoology, they're not meant to confuse you. It is right now because it's new to us all. We brought you in here tonight to try to come together and say, what questions do you have? Here's how some teachers are using this. So understand, and this is where we are as well, is tonight's a start. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have questions about how this is used.